Great Sunday.
That is definitely a good way to start my Sunday. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I'm on here, representing Alpha Beta Gold Games. I'm Cameron James. Joining me, as always, Jason Porter, and from the beginning, none other than just Matt. Hello.
What's up?
Hello.
Yeah, we're here a little late today, like we were last week, telling stories from our sponsor. Our sponsor had some issues today at work. So, I don't know. The sponsor said everything's okay, so the sponsor is sponsoring this episode again. He is back, or they are back, or it is back. Whatever it is.
Back.
It's back. So, Jason and I were hanging out yesterday smoking cigars.
That's cool.
Good times.
Watching, what the hell are we watching? Guy Fieri or some bullshit? I don't know.
The Guy Fieri version of Chopped.
Oh, yeah, guys, grocery games. So, it's a
Guys,
show.
grocery games.
I gotta say, that motherfucker has the most badass outdoor kitchen I think I've ever seen in my fucking life. And he's on like fucking 50 acres of land in California. What? How do you have 50 acres of land in California?
When you're rich as fuck, that's something you can do.
Where in California is that much like land?
Flavortown, right? Isn't that where he lives? Is Flavortown?
Yes, something like that. Is that
where he lives? It's called Flavortown?
I don't know, but the way his backyard looked, it might as well have been. Shit was fucking. I'm gonna have that.
It was tight. It was pretty nice.
Give you a shout out, Guy Fieri. Come to our sponsor's restaurant. I know the owner.
I was gonna say he's been to this area plenty of times.
He went to 10th Ave Burrito.
Yeah, back in the day when it was still actually on 10th Ave and not basically 8th Ave.
Was it really? Oh, he went to the smaller one.
Yeah, he went to like the OG 10th Ave Burrito when it was just like next to Beckman's.
So Cameron and I were talking about this yesterday when we were watching it. I have never met him, but I know I currently work with people who have met him because a lot of us come from the restaurant industry. And he said, like, hands down, he's one of the coolest guys as far as like the celebrity show. That's nothing pretentious about him. And, he was talking with my coworker. They were like telling stories and just genuinely talking for a little bit, spending time with the guy's kids. And he said he's just like hands down a super top-notch guy.
I believe it.
Unlike some other chefs who we won't mention any names about because they probably know who I am. They have no idea who the fuck I am. Let's be honest. Fuck you, Bobby Flay. Yeah, I said it. Anyway, let's hop into actually video game talk for a second. What we've been playing. I want to know what. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna give.
Shit.
I know. I'm gonna give my quick overall final review on Prey. So I'm handing in the towel. I respect what they did with the game. It just didn't click. I don't know if it's just like a bad time for me. I could see it was definitely like Half-Life met BioShock, I felt. I was getting really tired of just fighting black blobs the entire time. And I thought the space little suit that you could fly around was kind of cool. But to me, it was just like, it kind of felt like, I don't know, almost like Metroid-like, where you kept going back and forth between different areas. Like, it didn't really progress forward. It wasn't like hey, you're going to keep moving through the ship. It was like, okay, you got to go this part, then you got to go that part. And they don't really, like, they're very vague when they tell you what to do, I got to say. They're just like, hey, go to the landing crew. And you're like, where the fuck is that? And then you got to go to, like, some map. Then you don't have anything on your map that tells you where's the crew deck. And then you, like, just fly around in this little space area for, like, 25 minutes. You're like, oh, there it is. And how'd you get to it? Oh, I didn't open up this airtight seal. Here we go again. I was like, you know what? I kept running out of ammo. I had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, this is definitely not the right time for me to be playing this when I'm not playing it back to back to back.
Well, I like your you should stick to that operative wording. It's not the right time to be playing this game.
Yes, 100% wasn't, because it is something I could see myself probably going back to at some point. But like that's like a game where I have to be like, okay, I'm gonna play this game for 4 days straight, and I'm gonna binge it and I'm gonna beat it, because playing it for like 2 days and taking like 5 days and coming back, I was like, what am I doing?
Well, then that's your first problem, because I'll say this too. The back to the first time that I had The Witcher, that was what I was doing.
Jason's favorite game?
I would play it for like an hour, and then I would stop playing it, and then I wouldn't play it for like 3 days. I'd come back, and I'm like, what am I doing again? And then that's when I lost sight of it, traded it in, and then like 6 months later, I got it again, and then that's when I dove in. So if you're if you can't dedicate a reasonable amount of time to it each time you play it and you're playing it consistently, then you got to kind of just put it to the side and come back later.
And that's definitely a game too that you pick up a lot of items throughout that game and they don't tell you anything about what anything is. And I had like some problems too where it was like my weapons wheel, like it wasn't showing some of my weapons for some reason, but they were just in my backpack. And I was like, wait, why can't I equip this thing? And then I had to go into my backpack, hit the weird button, go to equip, then assign it to a D-pad. But then I couldn't if I went to my weapons wheel, it wasn't there. And I was like, why is my pistol not here? And I had to go back into my backpack, do it all.
It is. It's very much. I saw you posting a thing. I don't know if it was on. I think it was on the official page. Where you're like, oh shit, I'm getting Resident Evil vibes from this because it does. Yeah. The inventory management, it's like you're fucking rotating shit and playing Tetris with it. Yeah, it feels a lot like Resident Evil. But you got to get rid of a lot of that shit too. You can't keep it.
Yeah. Well, then I kept like getting like mineral stuff to make things. I was like, wait, what am I making? And I was like, okay, fine. You know what?
Yeah.
When the time is right, I will. Again, it was $9. You know, if you have time to go play a game, and if you like Half-Life, if you like BioShock, and if you like fighting big black green looking monster thingies that look like goo, go play it. But it wasn't I gotta say, it wasn't as Dead Spacey as I was hoping it was gonna be.
Oh, it's definitely not that kind of horror. Dead Space is I'm gonna make you shit your pants and scream horror. This is very much like just very alien science fiction horror, I guess. It has its moments, but it's not that oh shit scary to me.
And do you ever fight anything else besides the like black goo looking things?
You fight all sorts of different versions of that thing. Like you eventually start fighting ones where they're literally like massive. They're like a couple stories tall.
Oh yeah,
black giant fucking monster creatures, and then just like brutish looking ones. Like it's kind of like it's sort of like Dead Space. It's like the necromorphs. It's all just different kinds. You have ones that are a little bit faster. You got the tiny little spider ones. Then there's just the big, really, really big ones. Like towards the latter part of the game, it's not really a spoiler. There is one or two very, very, very large ones that you either have to just kill or just straight up avoid and hope for the best. So, and they'll stalk you too. Yeah.
So, but I guess my next question is then before we move on to somebody else, Matt, what am I playing next?
I'm gonna give you a little softball. I was looking because I always look through your trophy list, and you haven't really played like a whole lot this generation, at least until recently. It's very easy to look through your trophy list and see what you've played. So I'm gonna give you an easy one. It's a 2D story decision based game. Doesn't require you to like really think too much. There are some puzzles, but not like super duper balls to the wall like intelligent ones. Oxenfree.
Okay, fair.
I really love that game, and I hope, obviously I always hope you like these games, but Oxenfree was a really fun game. It's a fun platinum. If you go through it, you have to play through it, I think, at least twice.
Okay.
But take your time, don't rush through it. They're like, it's not like a really big open world. Like you're going through the areas and you're moving your side scroll, all that shit. But take your time, read like when you get like little notes and shit and like recordings, listen to them, read the things, try to understand what's going on. Cause that game was that game really, when I played it, I was not expecting that game to be what it was. And it will fuck with your head a lot. So,
how long is the game?
I don't know, man. I want to say probably less than 20 hours would be like if you're really going slow, but I'd say maybe probably like less than 15 hours. Like it's really not a long game, but it's like short, it's sweet, but it's fucking weird. So
I like
yeah.
Weird. I like weird.
Yeah. Very bizarre.
All right.
Cool.
Oxenfree it is. Hopefully I have that taken care of and I'll give myself like 2 or 3 weeks on that. Take my time, like you said.
Take your time. Yeah, don't rush it. Just go through the motions. Take your time.
Matt, what are you playing?
I don't want to talk about it right now because I kind of went back to an old squeeze of mine from like years ago, and I'm currently working to get a platinum trophy on it. But anytime I've ever mentally told myself, yeah, I'm going to get the platinum trophy on this game, I always end up not getting it. So I need to stay focused that if I talk about it, it will become less real to me. So
I could just look at what you're playing.
Yeah, you could, but I'm not putting that out publicly. You're welcome to check right now. I got a trophy on it earlier. You can check. But So, but don't say it, please, because then it becomes less real.
In case you
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I will talk about it. There is another game that I am thinking about playing, but yeah, it's okay. Shh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But there is another game that I'm considering. No, it's nothing weird. It's not like a weird game where I'm playing like a fucking Japanese.
No, it's just not what I was to see on your.
Yeah, no, I love this game though. In truth, it's one of the best games from 2 generations ago at this point now, or like 1 generation. Just for reference, your mic sounds a little low. I don't know if you turned your
Mine did again.
Yeah, just a little lower. Nothing bad. But yeah, I really want to finally get a platinum trophy on this game because it'll be like a badge of honor. Because since it took me like 8 years total time to 100% it. But there's another game that I am considering getting, but I'm not going to get it until probably this coming week, the holiday weekend for Labor Day, because I'm expecting there to be some kind of like holiday weekend sale where shit's just going to be crazy discounted. Darksiders Genesis.
Oh yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, so nice little Diablo style game in the Darksiders universe, and I like the Darksiders games. I still have to play the 3rd one, but that's pretty much going to be one of the next ones on my list. So
Genesis.
Yeah, looks fun. Got good reviews.
Am I quiet again?
No, you're much better now.
Okay, cool. Jason, you're still playing Ed, right? Or what the hell it's called?
It's called the Elite Dangerous. Yes, Ed.
Oh, Ed. I was like, who's Ed?
Ed.
Who the fuck's Ed?
Yeah, the bug this week has been a little bit weird for me. So I really, like, by the time I've been getting home and everything, I really didn't want to go, come down into the basement and boot everything up. So I'm just at my computer doing work, and it's like, you know what? I don't want to get up. So I've just been playing a few hours each night. Yeah, the bug hit me hard again, obviously, and I really do enjoy that game. Later today, though, I'm going to throw a few more things back on the PlayStation, and I'm going to start something that I haven't played before. I'm just going to pick something randomly from my digital queue and just load it up.
Cool.
What are options?
A ton of stuff on there. I can check it. Honestly, I don't even know at this point. I know I think the last Batman that I haven't played yet. Sorry, Cameron.
Nope.
And yeah, there's a ton of indie stuff on there. Like, I went through a period of time where I would like only download indie stuff, partly because I didn't want to drop money on AAA titles, and also partly because for a while there just wasn't anything coming out AAA that I really wanted to play. So I was either going to PlayStation Classics that finally got the digital treatment and you could download for like, $15, $9. And then a lot of the indie games, like you said, for a lot of these flash sales, there's probably going to be a Labor Day sale coming up. I would just find something and I'd get 3 games for like, $20. And so I have a ton of that stuff on there. So short games, I would imagine, like anywhere from the 8 to 15 hour playthrough, nothing like super 45 hours.
You could totally play Oxenfree too. That's a fun game.
I wrote that down. I'm going to check it out.
Good. Yes, it's really a great game. So I think,
especially for, short and sweet.
On
a contest for like Cam and I to see who could finish first, but I'm probably going to lose that. So.
No way, dude.
Don't rush that. No, don't rush it. Just play it, enjoy it, and be invested when you play it. Don't be blinded by like I gotta beat Jason or I gotta beat Cameron. Just fucking play it.
Go ahead.
Some of those indie games I actually spend a lot more time with and I get more invested. Something like Ether One or Journey or What Remains of Edith Finch. They were all like indie games. They were all good games.
Oh, then you would really like Oxenfree then. Okay. Oh my God.
Like Fallout 4 was a great game and I played the shit out of that game, but I was never super invested into the history on anything as much as I was for a lot of these indie games.
Fallout 3 was better than Fallout 4.
Definitely. 100% agree.
Fallout 4 lost me when I was too busy trying to build a fucking base for like 4 hours. I was like, you know what? This is that
whole building. It wasn't even like a side quest. It was just like a kind of like a mini thing you could do. I spent some time with it because like, all right, this is cool. I get to build shit. And then all of a sudden it was just like, what the fuck am I doing?
That lost its luster real quickly. And I think And you know what? As much as I personally wasn't super crazy about it, I still would go with a lot of other people that say that probably New Vegas was the best one they ever made.
I couldn't get into New Vegas, man.
Well, I couldn't either, but everybody that I know that got into it says that it is arguably the best one. And I've watched people play it, even though I can't get into it, and their playthroughs interest me more than what I was trying to do with that game.
Really?
So, yeah, absolutely, 100%.
I mean, it's a game that I actually want to buy for like the retro room and just have it.
Yeah.
I ever want to dive into it one day. But last time I tried to fuck with that game, I don't know if it was like the controls that threw me off, and I was just like, this is not good.
Not your bag.
No, and it was weird. Then I was like, let me play Fallout 4, and I thought it was great. But then I realized that it was great until my base kept getting overrun. I was going and doing this. And I was like, this is retarded. Jason, what are you going to say?
Yeah, I tried playing New Vegas. I was never an Xbox guy, so I picked up a used. Actually, no, I think I won an Xbox One, or whatever the newest one at the time was, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And I got a download. I think it was a download of it, if I remember, but it wasn't like right for that model. It was like legit download, but there was just something wrong with it. And I could not get out of like slow motion, your character's overloaded with weight and like is only like trudge along. I couldn't get any sort of fast move, anything. I screwed around with it for like 45 minutes. I tried changing every setting. I tried deleting the game, reloading it again. And
did you at least try emptying your pockets in the game?
There was nothing in there. It was like a brand new character, and that just kind of turned like that. If I was an Xbox guy, like if that happened on Sony, I'd be like, all right, something's wrong here. Let me figure it out. But I was never like really vested into the Xbox, and I'm like, you know what? It's not. I'm not. I'm not going to kick myself if I don't play the game because I can't play the game. But
fair enough. I do wish that they made at least one Fallout game, like the old ones, like the original one, where it was like the top-down isometric view. It was kind of looked like Diablo, but it was like if I remember it playing it, it was kind of more like Wasteland, I think, where you had moves.
It was like a strategy kind of.
Yeah, style. I like that. I thought it was a cool concept. Again, I know Matt and I said to Matt, Juicy Wasteland, and you're out on that one.
I don't know what it is. I can't do it. It just looks. There is a certain appeal to it, but there is also I watch his reviews a lot, so I'm just going to shout him out. I think I have before. His like tag would be Carrick, and he does his ACG Angry Centaur Gaming reviews. He's easily the best reviewer on YouTube just because he always starts his videos and he says, this is just my review of this game. It's not any sponsored bull crap. If he gets free copies of the game that he reviews, but he always buys it and then auctions off a copy of it. Like he just gives it out to his viewers to show that it's not like he's just doing this for, the money. But his reviews of it are good. I think he said Wasteland is like for him as a buy. Like he says buy, rent, or buy, wait, or like sale, I guess.
Oh yeah, I've seen this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm pretty sure he said he was like, yeah, you should get this game. It's a lot of fun, but it's just there's like a weird sense of difficulty to it. Like just that doesn't have, or that shouldn't be that difficult. Like it has no business being that difficult at times, and that's kind of even for me, the guy who plays Dark Souls and shit like that, it's kind of a deterrent. So
yeah, the second one was really fucking hard. Like I had it because it looked really cool. I wanted to play it. I was like, oh, let me fuck with this. And I literally got to like the first thing, and they're like, yeah. And I read some stuff on like Reddit and just like other blogs, and they're like, yeah, if you don't spec your group out right the first time, it's fucking over.
Yeah, forget it.
Like,
I'm done.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, whatever.
That's that. We're going back to that permadeath shit, and I'm already out.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Fuck that. But once again, this is Why Am I Nerd presents Alphabeted Gold. You can follow us on Instagram at Why Am I Nerd Official, Facebook.com/Why Am I Nerd, and listen to new episodes every Monday on YouTube and your favorite podcast service. So I have a couple things here we're going to talk about today. Obviously, we're going to make up our own rules because like we said before, you can go fucking listen to the news on every other goddamn video game place. So we're just going to talk what the fuck we want. And this I thought was a kind of a cool topic, kind of based on the fact that you have Gotham Knights coming out next year. You have Suicide Squad coming out. You have Avengers coming out. You just had Battletoads that came out. What next group game or team deserves a game? So I had ideas of I said X-Men, Simpsons, Fantastic Four, Ninja Turtles, Justice League, South Park again, Ghostbusters, Incredibles, and Power Rangers. That was a little list of notes just I had to myself to talk about. But I don't know, it seems like they're just going to be bringing in all these freaking games out that require, groups of and teams, maybe, co-op based or not. But what would you guys like to see as another, team game or group or whatever you want to say kind of come out? Because they did say something which I thought was really, really weird. I don't know how to feel about this yet. Is that in Gotham Knights, you can play as the same character with somebody else.
Oh, so that was fun in old games, but not now.
Right, that's what I was getting at. And they also said that the Avengers game is going to be adding that, where you could have a squad of all Hulks running around doing whatever the fuck you want to do. And I was like, okay, this is something you used to play back in the day, where if all you played as, I don't know, a character, his color changed. One person was a blue version of him, or red, or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
So I guess my thing is, what team group would you guys like to kind of see next, and how would you like to see get be done?
Oh,
Jason?
Not me first.
So I'm not. And I talked about this last week. I was never into the co-op gaming. I'll play online all the time. But as far as doing a split screen or a couch co-op or something, that's just not my thing. That being said, I think it's been far too long since we've had a dedicated X-Men game, and I would absolutely throw money at whatever came out.
But are you saying you would like to see it though as the old X-Men Legend games, the top-down Diablo looking thing? Do you want to see 2D? You want open world, or what they're doing with the Avengers and all that shit? How would you like to see them do it?
So I would like to see a mix. I loved we talked about this last week. I loved the original X-Men game for Genesis, where you're going around, you had the 4 characters. I would like to see something similar to that. I would also like to see some sort of open world, like the Batman Arkham Knight was. It's not open city, I guess, not open world, just open city where you have to go around and do different things. If nothing is in development yet and it's being super secretive, then, I know it's going to be several years before we see anything like that, but I would eventually like to see an X-Men game similar to Marvel's Avengers coming out now.
I am actually surprised that, I feel Rocksteady, would have done a pretty good X-Men game, especially because they're good with gritty, so, doing gritty stuff. So I am really surprised that they went with this Gotham Knights thing. I do think it's a cool concept, the Gotham Knights, but I just don't understand why it was necessary, I guess. So I think, I agree. I think the X-Men is long overdue. I mean, besides the Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and I know the last good game that they kind of had was that Wolverine game for Xbox 360 and PS3, I think it was.
That was X-Men. Yeah, that was X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah, I heard that there's actually a second version of that game, some sort of edition that they say is they jack up the violence in the game if the game wasn't violent before. I didn't play it, and they said it's get the other edition if you can find it, but right now it's going for $60-$70 on fucking eBay. So then what if we were to do that? What 4 characters are you putting in the X-Men game?
Gambit, Cyclops,
Storm
has to be.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Psylocke. I would take.
So no Wolverine.
What?
You're not putting Wolverine in there.
Really?
Wolverine's too easy. Wolverine's too easy.
That character is just way too overplayed. Hugh Jackman, brilliant in his portrayal of Wolverine, and I cannot picture anyone on this planet other than Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I just think for all the movies, we just got oversaturated with Wolverine since 2000. When did the original one come out? 2002, 2001. just ever since then, it's just been it's just Wolverine in your face. And personally, I'm done with that character. I don't want to see any more Wolverine. A secondary character.
2000. It came out in 2000.
But I do not want anything playable as Wolverine. That's just my personal preference.
I feel like he has to be in there. I feel like if he wasn't there, you'd get more of an uproar than this whole Spider-Man being on Sony only exclusive thing.
People would get butthurt over Cyclops not being in it, even though Cyclops.
You think
sucks.
So? Cyclops is so lame.
Sucks. He's the worst. He's such 100%. A dick.
He's a yeah. I know.
But that's just it. When you bring up the X-Men, apart from obviously Wolverine, that's like one of the first. That's one of the first ones that like comes to your mind is Cyclops, but he fucking sucks. So whatever. I mean, I like that lineup. I like Psylocke's fucking cool too.
She was in this.
She was in Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was in the second X-Men game, I think.
Was she?
For Genesis.
Yes, she was.
Oh.
Yep.
You could play as her. Yeah, I think Gambit doesn't get enough credit. Like Matt from Golden Voice Matt's like, all he does is throw cards. I'm like, yeah, but it's the fact that he can turn anything into like a fucking grenade, essentially. Like, it's not just cards. Like, he just happens to throw cards.
That was his thing from like, he was a hustler from, Louisiana. He was just always playing with cards. He was a card hustler. That's why everybody thinks of the cards. But it was anything.
Yeah. Matt, what were you going to say?
Cards were just cheap.
I was gonna say, wasn't why can't I think of it? Wasn't isn't that kind of like he has a? Because I used to be more into X-Men. Isn't his power similar to Sebastian Shaw's? Like they're able to take like kinetic energy and kind of convert it. Like that's basically what it is. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started rewatching. I said this to Jason yesterday. The X-Men TV show from like the 90s. Dude, okay, so I'm gonna go on the record and saying this right now. That show's not that good. And
no, it was way better when you were a kid.
100%. I'm watching this. I'm like, damn, like this is not bringing back good childhood memories. But it's weird because like I'll watch an episode and be like, damn, I remember this like 25 years ago.
Cameron literally was laying in his bed watching that show last week or whatever, and you were like the Wolverine meme where he's looking at the picture of Jean Grey. You were looking at the picture, but it was your memories of the show.
It was. I was like, damn. You know what is like? You know what is an issue is the way that they portray Wolverine in that movie or in that TV show is not the way he's portrayed with Hugh Jackman by any means. Like in that show, he's kind of like a little bitch. Let's be honest, in that show. And
he's just a Canadian guy who wants to live a simple life.
It's weird. Like it's weird. But I'm gonna finish the show. Obviously, I already started. But I was just like, this is not as good as I remember it being, which kind of sucks.
And Matt, I was telling Cameron yesterday, one of my favorite lines ever is in the very first episode, Night of the Sentinels Part 1. Jubilee is at the arcade, and she can't control her powers yet. She destroys the machine. The arcade owner comes over. He's like, hey, do you know how much that machine costs? She just kind of like looks over. She's like, yeah, $25, and just walks away. Like one of my favorite
such classic 90s fucking punk humor.
Exactly.
Yeah,
100%.
God.
So, Matt, what about you? What would you like to see?
Honestly, I really don't know because I'm kind of in the same boat with Jason. Like, I really didn't play a shit ton of games like that. And I mean, you kind of spouted off a nice dozen right there at the beginning of possible options. Turtles would be cool. I wouldn't mind seeing a new Turtles kind of thing, but I definitely wasn't expecting Gotham Knights to be a thing. And I really don't know at this point how I feel about it. The more I think about it, I really don't like it. So I hope for their sake it ends up being good because I just feel like it's not going to end up being that much fun. It's going to probably get boring really quickly.
There was a rumor I heard today. I don't know what podcast I was listening to that originally, I guess Rocksteady or WB Montreal was. There's rumors that it was going to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. That Gotham Knights was the rumor was it wasn't going to be Gotham Knights. It was going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in like this darker atmosphere, I guess you could say.
That would be cool, dude. If they made a Turtles game in the style of the Arkham games, that would be fucking
100%.
Cool. That'd be super cool. I'd be all about that. Granted, Shredder would probably look. Or I'm sorry, not Shredder. Splinter would probably look terrifying. He'd probably look scary as fuck. But Shredder, dude, come on! Now I want that game. I want to fight Super Shredder.
But I guess if you do that, like, how do you level up your character? Like, you don't. Like,
You get a bigger shell.
wow, that's fucking that's awful.
You get a much bigger shell.
I think that I know that they made a Ghostbusters game already, and it was like cartoony.
That Ghostbusters, no, it was not You're thinking of a different one. The Ghostbusters game they made that just recently was remastered and put on the PS4 and Xbox One was fucking awesome.
Yeah, but didn't it have like it wasn't like realistic. It didn't look like Arkham Knight.
No,
it was like that.
They tried to make
like,
the graphics look sort of realistic, but
did they?
It's Ghostbusters. Yeah, dude. Honestly, that game was. I never expected to like that game as much as I did. That shit was as good. That for me, because I loved Ghostbusters as a kid. That is basically Ghostbusters 3.
Well, my thing is, I would like to see if they took that Ghostbusters and made it into like a legit scary game. Like, why not do something fucking weird with it? Because the new Ghostbusters movie that's coming out with the kid from fucking Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, yeah.
Like that. Apparently, that movie's supposed to be like kind of dark. Like, it's not supposed to be like this like comedy, happy-go-lucky movie like the other ones.
I mean, the game has some fucking like some fucked up plot points to it, but the combat is fun. It's satisfying. The upgrades you get to like your proton pack and your like all your weapons is honestly, you know what? After you beat Oxenfree, that's going to be your next game because it's super cheap too. I think it's only like $20 or less.
I almost bought it. It's funny you say.
Yeah. I can't recommend that game enough. I mean, it has its glitches and whatever, but in truth, the story very fun, very satisfying game.
So Matt, which one? I'm looking on Amazon right now. There's one from Mad Dog and there's one for Activision.
It would be the Activision one. Hold on, I'm on Amazon right now. Ghostbuster PS4.
There's one with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in the back, and then there's one with.
That's all. Yeah, that one. So then that is
video game remastered.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna like put my phone up to that one.
Yep.
Yeah,
that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, no, that kid. Dude, seriously, that might as well have been fucking Ghostbusters 3. It was so good.
Well, here, and not to retract a little bit to the X-Men topic real fast, we were talking about, but just remember because I said Stranger Things. Anyone see the artwork of apparently the kid that plays Billy in Stranger Things as Wolverine?
Billy?
Is his name?
Oh, yeah, Billy.
Yeah, the brother, right?
Wolverine?
Yeah.
Yeah, the older dickhead brother, Billy. I'm gonna look that up right now.
He's the Red Ranger. He's the Red Ranger in the Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking this up.
It's like a fan art, like someone like drew it, and it's
wow,
weird.
Yeah. Well, he looks good, but he also kind of looks like he's just trying to be the Wolfman.
Yes, that was it. I knew I couldn't picture what the hell it was, but it looked like it was like what? Like it? I don't know.
Maybe he could do it.
But yeah, I think an X-Men game is long overdue. I agree with you 100% too. I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they need to do something with that. I mean, I know they've remade like Turtles in Time, like whatever the hell that was, but it was
no
not
good. Yeah,
good.
No good.
You know, South Park, they kind of already did, which I think the two of you really like the South Park games.
Stick of Truth was fucking great. Yeah, and the other one was really fun too. Like they're both just like they had no business being as fun as they were, and they ended up being really good. I mean, when you think of a South Park RPG, you don't think the mechanics are going to be very good, and the fights actually play out really well, and they're very funny.
It was surprisingly well crafted behind the scenes.
100%. They took a lot of care with it.
It was playing South Park. It was like watching an episode of South Park. That's what it was. It had the same play style, and of course, it was the same animation, and just for as well put together and how everything kind of tied in. There were very few glitches in the game. And nothing that was like, okay, this doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be in the game, or this was stupid how they did that. And even the characters, even how they brought Morgan Freeman into it was great.
Morgan Freeman shows up in the South Park game.
Yes.
The second one, yeah.
Oh my
god. There's a whole character arc.
He's actually, I think he's a trophy because I think he is like the hardest. You don't have to fight him. I believe he's the hardest optional boss fight you can do in that game.
It's like the hidden final. It's like the ruby weapon or like the diamond weapon from Final Fantasy VII.
That's so random that they just throw Morgan Freeman in that game.
Yeah.
They're really, in truth, they're fun games. Honest to God, they're great.
I've
They
seen
really
it.
are.
I think the artwork's really cool. I like what they did with it, but I was never a South Park guy. I've literally watched one episode. I've said it's only the episode I've ever watched is the Michael Jackson one, and it just never really clicked for me. So I mean, I wouldn't really be.
Cameron, you're just ignorant. Yeah, you're just ignorant, Cameron. You're just
Fuck you.
ignorant.
I'm gonna go back to watching X-Men. But oh, there's our theme song. Transitioning to our next segment. Was 2020 a bust in year of gaming? Because I think 2020 is a weird year, period. And I think that there's so much like up and down this year that I get it that you have the big hype of, PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox, whatnot. But was 2020 actually worth the hype is my question. Matt.
I mean, I think every single year in terms of gaming is always overhyped. I think there's always such a high level of just, here's everything that we can do, and it never fully delivers, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. The fact that half the things that are still happening before the end of this calendar year is kind of crazy, all things considered, despite the fact, we're still in a pandemic and it doesn't seem like it's going to be fucking ending anytime soon, at least in the United States. But every year is always overhyped about what's going to happen. And I think, if anything, 2020 is going to bust its nut once the new consoles come out. I think that's what's going to happen. That'll be it. Like, it'll come out, the new consoles will come out, everybody's going to lose their shit. They're going to have all their new games, and they're just going to be brimming with excitement about all the new shit that they've got. But I mean, 2020 there was kind of a gap, I feel like, towards the beginning of this. Most of this year was just new consoles, and none of that started happening until like really about a month ago, maybe. So we're coming in late term on this. It's not. I don't know. I don't think every year's always overhyped.
Do you guys think? Oh, before I ask the question, Jason, what about you?
With the consoles, coming out at the end of the year, yes, I
Just
absolutely. It was worth the hype.
Really?
As for me, even without the consoles, yes, because literally the two games I have waited for years finally came out, and I enjoyed both of them. So.
Last of Us 2 and Final Fantasy 7?
Yep.
I guess that was actually what my question was going to be was, do you guys think that The Last of Us 2, Final Fantasy 7, Ghost of Tsushima, what else kind of came out? Kingdom of Amalur in next week. Yeah, I had to drop that in there. Do you guys think that
what game? I've never heard of that.
Fuck you. Do you think that Last of Us kind of got, and Final Fantasy 7 and Ghost of Tsushima, lost in the mix a little bit? Like, if they had came out last year when the focus wasn't on current consoles and next gen, yada yada yada, do you think they would have had better success, or do you think that they just were kind of, it is what they are what they are? We all knew what we were getting for the most part, and it just, whether it was last year, this year, it was going to be, what they are. Even Cyberpunk, it's not out yet. No one's obviously really played it except for the demos and whatnot. But were these games lost because of next gen coming out?
I don't think so. Could The Last of Us have done better not coming out in a global pandemic? Absolutely. If that came out last year, I think that would have been better. Final Fantasy, no.
Yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy came out at the dawn of COVID, so it was happening no matter what. They couldn't stop that train. So
that's interesting that you though said that you think that Last of Us would have done better without a pandemic, because I feel like it wouldn't have done better, because being that everyone's home, everyone was getting all this extra money and unemployment, that they actually probably had a little more money to spend, which is why I think the game sold 4 billion copies or something crazy like that within however the hell it was,
4 billion. Wow.
Million?
Yeah, that's half the population of the planet, all women and children.
Million,
and
billion, whatever the fuck it was. I don't even know how many people live in this world, nor do I really give a fuck. But it did good numbers, during the pandemic. So who's to say that I can't see it doing worse. I think it actually benefited from that.
I mean, Ghost of Tsushima fucking steamrolled sales. They're just still raking in money. Like that's like every time it pops up in the news, like it's like one of the best selling games like ever in Japan now. Like the Japanese are like, they're like, fuck, dude, how did these Westerners make a better game about Japan than we did? And now, and they love it. Everybody loves it. That game has made so much money. It's like one of the fastest selling like first party new IP AAA titles. It's crazy the success that game has. I couldn't be happier for it. But I mean, I think the pandemic helped because people are locked in their houses. But I think the only thing that could have helped The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima and even Final Fantasy VII, like the remake, performing better, I guess, would have been launching it on at the same time, just launching it alongside of the new consoles as well, and having them, having both consoles, both versions of the games out, because it's inevitable. They're going to put the Final Fantasy VII on PS5. They're going to put Last of Us 2 on PS5. They're going to have very specific PS5 versions, I would imagine, but I think that's the only way they could have performed better, is that if you had them launching alongside, instead of releasing them when they came out, just pushing them to this latter part of the year and even early next year and releasing them with the new consoles, because then you have both PS4 and PS5 sales to factor in as opposed to just one console.
We're assuming that Last of Us 2 is going to be able to be played on PS5 at launch.
I mean, I would say almost certainly you'll be able to play it at launch with all the backwards compatibility. I feel like that's probably going to be one of the big titles they're going to want to make sure is available to be played backwards compatibility wise. But I'm saying they're going to make like they did when they did The Last of Us remastered. They're gonna do a Last of Us 2 remastered specifically for PS5, not just you're playing it on a PS5, but a specific PS5 version.
And I would replay it.
Yeah, I don't know if I would. I mean, I platinumed it. I think I'm good.
I didn't show off, so I gotta. Yeah, fuck you. I mean, I think one of the biggest, you could kind of say, overhyped things was probably Cyberpunk, because it didn't execute when it was supposed to execute. It's not even out yet, obviously.
Well, I mean, they were planning for an April release date, and then they pulled out even before COVID hit. They were like, we got to push this off. And then they pushed to September. And then they were like, we just need an extra 2 months. And you got to remember, man, when CD Projekt Red says, hey, we're pushing a game back, let them fucking push it back as much as they want. Because when it comes out, it's not going to suck.
Jason might argue that.
Jason also just can't get into The Witcher. Doesn't mean he would necessarily say the same thing about Cyberpunk, but whether he likes it or not doesn't take away from the fact that they released a quality game with The Witcher 3, despite the fact that it was delayed fucking 4 or 5 times.
I totally agree. The Witcher was beautiful. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I'm not knocking the game at all. When I said I didn't like it, I couldn't get into it. It's not for me.
And that's fine. I'm just saying it from the point of, I don't think CD Projekt Red botched anything. I think if they want to take their time with it, history has spoken that if they take their time with the game and as much as they want, their game will be quality when it comes out. It's that line from, what was it, Shigeru Miyamoto, where he says a rushed game is forever bad, but a delayed game is eventually good. So just let them take their fucking time. If they come out and they say, actually, we got to push it back to December, that's fine. And more than like, then it gives me more of a chance to have a PS5 ready for the time that game comes out. So let them just keep pushing it. I don't care.
I think a disappointment this year, though, a little bit was Resident Evil 3, the remake. I think that game probably should have came out as a package with Resident Evil 2, or they should have been like, hey, you're gonna get Resident Evil 2 now and Resident Evil 3 next year for $60. Not here's Resident Evil 2 for $60, which I thought Resident Evil 2 was probably worth the $60. I enjoyed the game. I thought it was awesome. But, I'm not going to go and play Resident Evil 3 that apparently can be beat in 4 or 5 hours and spend $60 on it. Like, that's...
Well, 2 technically can be beat in,
4 hours. That's a trophy.
There's speed runs of people beating, and I honestly, I feel like I've seen, in, 90 minutes or less.
Yeah, but half the time those speedrunners find every fucking glitch in the book. You fall through a roof and you do this and do that. Unless you're talking about when they do, the legit game. Because... I watched somebody speedrun Tomb Raider 2, and they literally like jumped off a mountain, paused it at some second, came back in, did the same thing, paused it, did it again, paused it again, and somehow was able to cut through the freaking like world and like jumped all the way. I was like, what? Like, how do you figure this glitch out?
People do that with the original Super Mario Brothers as well.
They inject code and shit.
Yeah, that might actually be the most like speed run game. If you YouTube Super Mario speed run, you're going to find an insane amount of videos of just how people are still finding new ways to glitch that game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a 2D game. I mean, how do you glitch it? Just a glitch to the end of the level? Like, I don't really understand.
No, so the way that I'm not gonna explain how they do it because it's way over my head. But the gist is, they can break down to like the code and the pixel density. They can take all that stuff and have everything like graphed to the program. So if Mario's foot is 0.5 pixels and it's counted as 1 pixel. If something else, and I'm probably explaining this completely wrong, but it's counted as 1 pixel. And if something else starts, but that's 0.5 pixel, it's also counted as 1 pixel, but sometimes there'll be dead space in that pixel, and then you can take advantage of that to have Mario like a millisecond ahead of where he actually is, and then you can execute stuff off of that. It's all way over my head. I don't know how they do it. I just know that it is very elaborate, and it obviously works because they glitch the shit out of that game.
That's weird. That's interesting. I know there's Super Mario 64 has a bunch of glitches too.
The Super Mario 64 one my favorite one is like someone beating it literally in, I'll just say less than 5 minutes. They're at the startup. They come up out of the fucking warp pipe, and they literally like they run forward. They jump 3 times. They do like a backflip and then like dive into a wall and then do like this thing where they're just like jittering across the map, and then they like go through the front door. They jitter up the stairs backwards, and then all of a sudden they're at like the end of the game, and then Princess Peach is like giving you her like letter and cake and everything. And they beat it in like less than 5 minutes.
There was a guy, there was a kid online that did this. I don't know what he was thinking, but in Super Mario 64, the stairs that if you don't get to, they just run up?
Yeah, the infinite staircase for Bowser, yeah.
He did that for 24 hours.
What the fuck?
He sat there, just like this. He's like, all right, I'm going to run through this for 24 hours. Went just like that. Didn't fall asleep, stayed awake, grinded through it. Literally ran up the stairs for 24 hours to turn around and be like, well, there's the door.
Was he doing it for like a charity thing or just because?
I think he might have just been doing it because I think he ended up doing it for like 25 or like 26 hours or like 24 hours and like 4 minutes or some bullshit. Or maybe it was
maybe it's just me, but if I was going to get a record, if I was going to have a world record for something like a speed run, I'd want to do it legit. Like I understand that people get these speed runs and they have world records, but if you're using glitches and you're manipulating the game, I feel like that's not doing it legit. Like I want to see you play that game from start to finish as fast as you possibly can, doing everything correctly. That I feel like counts as more, but then I don't know, man, people just always find creative ways to do shit and manipulate things. And then it's like, yeah, I've got this world record for beating Super Mario Brothers 1 in 22 seconds, but you injected some code into the game that allowed you to get what basically just all of a sudden, bam, you're at the end and you're jumping on the fucking flagpole.
Yeah,
it seems so shitty to me.
I agree. I hate that in speedrunning too.
Yeah.
If you want the world record for something like Super Mario 3, play until I think you need 2 or 3 warp whistles to do it. I think you have to like be in world 3 before you can jump into 6, and then from 6 you can go to 7 or 8. Do it that way. Don't glitch it. Don't use the errors in the code. Actually go through and do a speed run of each individual like sub-level, beat the boss, and then get all the items you need and then go.
Mm-hmm. I've actually don't think I've ever seen every world in Super Mario 3 because I remember I used to know what worlds I liked and I would just skip to the ones I liked to go to.
Yeah. Okay.
It wasn't like Super Mario World where they had all the little you pretty much saw every area. The only thing in Super Mario World that never actually beat was that when you get to the Star World.
Yeah, the one that
eventually it continues to grow and it's like more. I never got through all of it. I think it like wraps
Mm-hmm.
around maybe twice. I think it got to the top, but whatever. But before we get into our featured topic of the week, quick word from our sponsor.
Why Am I a Nerd podcast network has been brought to you by our sponsor, Me Moms. The best breakfast and lunch down the Jersey Shore with 3 great locations in Wall Township, Middletown, and Brick, New Jersey. Me Moms specializes in unique and fun takes on your traditional lunch and breakfast items. Open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can find more information at www.memoms.com.
Anyway, we're back. Maybe you heard the Montreal story about McDonald's. Maybe you heard Matt
the weird. I'm literally fucking watching television.
Who the fuck knows? So we're gonna go over 5 video game moments that mean something to us. It doesn't have to be an exact scene. It could be a scene. It could be a moment. It could be something in a game that just stuck out for you. And I'm gonna guess that none of us probably have the same ones. But I was wrong last week when Jason's first one was Super Mario 3, and Matt, you were like, "Oh, that was one of mine too," and I was like, "Okay, I guess we were on the same page here." So, Jason, we'll start with you.
All right. Number 5 for me is it's at the ending of the Tomb Raider reboot from 2012 or 2013, the first of the trilogy that Square came back out with. Great game.
I concur.
It was just like a standard first-person shooter.
Third person.
Exploration. Third-person shooter with a lot of exploration. What really got me thinking, okay, what really kind of tied in the game for me is at the very ending. It's not the ending cutscene. It's the ending or the ending cinematics. It's the ending cutscene with the main boss. And actually, you already defeat him, and then the finishing move is you have to. For me, it was the mouse button because I played it on the PC. You have to go back and forth clicking the mouse button because up until that point, Lara only had the one pistol, and then she picked up another one, and it was the traditional the Lara Croft double pistol move. That for me kind of cemented that as being Tomb Raider for me.
See, I thought that was actually. I liked Tomb Raider 1, the reboot, a lot, but I thought that end boss fight was fucking stupid.
So you play the game again because the end boss fight is that entire level. It's not him per se. He was cake to beat. It's getting up to him. It's going through that village and going through the bridge with the wind coming and everything. That was the main part of all of that. Once you got to him, it was just cake. It was done at that point.
I don't know. I kind of feel like I had the same feeling about. So I thought with Tomb Raider was because it didn't got this weird magic power, right? It didn't get some weird mystical bullshit involved at the end of that game, and it kind of reminded me of a lot of what happened at no spoilers at the end of. I don't know if I can say this.
Oh, there's gonna be fucking spoilers on my shit.
Okay,
so
fuck it.
Buckle up.
Okay,
fuck it.
Yeah, but that was then. Sorry if I spoil this for you, Jason. It's the midway, kind of the last third act of Uncharted 1. I fucking hated that. I hated that. When it's you're playing a game, it's like Indiana Jones. Okay, cool. I like this game. I'm doing this, and then all of a sudden you bring in this fucking monster things, whatever the fuck they were. They're the same things from
Don't elaborate.
What was it? No, what was that game? Where you make Hayden Panettiere's on? We talked about it.
Yeah, no, it's called a Wendigo.
Yeah,
it's
stupid.
A fucking nightmare creature. What's
Stupid? Fuck that. They should have never done that at the end of that game. That was the only problem I had with Tomb Raider 1 was at the end how it got all fucking mystical. I was why? Why is this necessary? Just keep it real. The fuck? But I will agree that was kind of cool because they capture the fucking your friend and whatever. It is what it is. Matt, your turn.
So these are in no particular order. I just kind of put together a list, but
Mine aren't either.
one of my big things from when I was a kid, and some of these are kind of older games, just kind of whoa, holy shit moments for me was, and obviously spoiler alert for pretty much anything I'm going to say, is in Ocarina of Time, when at the very end of that game, or very close to the end of that game, it's revealed that the character Sheik that has been helping adult Link through his journey is Zelda. I fucking blew my mind. I was like, oh, oh, my head exploded. I was like, holy shit, what? And Zelda's this fucking badass ninja running around and just kicking ass, and it was so fucking cool. And then, like, the fandom for that shit exploded, and then they made Zelda / Sheik a character in Smash Brothers. Like, it's just, that was a whole, I just remember being like, holy shit, this is crazy. And there's, you know, if you're familiar with YouTubers, the Game Grumps did an Ocarina of Time playthrough, and the whole time the one host, Aaron, is like stringing the other guy, Dan, along. And when it's finally revealed in their playthrough that Sheik is Zelda, Dan has like this amazing, he's like, I think he's like almost 40 years old. The guy has this childlike sense of wonder that is just mind-blowing. And I'm like, that was me when I was a kid. This guy is a fully grown-ass adult losing his mind over the fact that Sheik was Zelda. So that was definitely a big moment for me. I just will always remember that shit. So
I like that one because I never actually fucking got that far. Because like I said, I was just never smart enough to fucking that for the game. But so I'm going to stick then with the 64. And I'm gonna go with, it's in Mario 64, and it sticks with me because I still to this day, for some reason,
I know exactly what it is. I know exactly what it is. What it is. Oh shit! It might be one of two things. So let me see if I'm right. Is it the Loch Ness Monster?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Fuck that. I still cannot play that fucking level. For some reason,
how is the Loch Ness Monster scary for you, but the fucking giant eels swimming around weren't?
That whole thing, that whole level, it was called, I just looked up, so I was like, what was the name of that level? It's called Jolly Roger Bay.
Yeah.
Fuck Jolly Roger Bay. Because I literally did not beat that game because I would not play that level. I think I literally gave the controller to my friends, like, can you beat this level for me, please? Just let me move on. I could not play it. And it probably terrifies me more now as a grown-ass 31 adult because the game looks so fucking shitty that it's probably more scary.
Listen, I can't give you too much shit because in terms of, I still do to this day, I still have like a fear of like water levels in games. I was never able to do parts of like the like Lake Hylia and the water temple, and then in Majora's Mask, like all the Great Bay shit when I was much younger because it scared the fucking piss out of me. As an adult now, I'm like, it's fine, it's whatever, but no, Jolly Roger Bay at the time, you were like, what the fuck is happening? Yep. There's giant eels. There's like a shark in the one level. Yeah. Crazy.
And like, you had, because the majority of the level, you were underwater. So like the claustrophobia as being underwater as it is with your fucking like little air bubble. It was, no. Fuck.
Your mic again, by the way.
Yeah, you're soft again.
Your rage has dimmed your voice.
That was weird.
Awesome.
I have my mic volume right here this time because I was like, wow.
Jolly Roger Bay. Great. I'll say this though. No, hold on. One thing you got to compliment though. The fucking music of Jolly Roger Bay is amazing.
Fuck everything about that level.
No. No, dude, I love Jolly Roger Bay music. Amazing.
Stupid ass name for a level.
No. Jolly Roger. There's no. Don't hate.
It's bullshit. I'm hating it's bullshit. Jason, you're up.
This is one of two Final Fantasy entries on my list. The first
one. Me too.
Okay.
Oh.
The ending to Final Fantasy IX. So the ending CGI. The ending CGI where Princess Garnet is now Queen Garnet, and the theater group is like putting on the show, and everybody thinks Zidane is dead, and they're going through like their whole play, and then at the very end, like he throws off his cloak and it's Zidane, and he's like talking to her, like looking up, reaching out to her, and she's just like, oh my God. And then it goes into CGI, and it shows her, like the camera's following her running through the castle, like pushing open the front doors, going through the crowd. At one point, she loses like her necklace, which was from her mother. And it's like she stops, she looks back at the necklace, then she looks back towards Zidane, and she just runs right over to Zidane. The first time I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that was just perfectly done. Mm-hmm. I don't think it aged CGI quality as well. Like watching it again today, for the time, that was just like perfect. I loved it.
You know what's weird about Final Fantasy real fast, just staying on the topic, is I would just look, because I know the new one that just came out, like the remake, tanked. It got like IGN gave it like a 3. Crystal, or what the fuck it was called, Crystal Chronicles.
Oh, Crystal Chronicles, yeah.
So Final Fantasy 7 came out, and obviously it looked one way back for PlayStation. But then Final Fantasy 8 had like a completely different art direction, it almost seemed like. And then
they all kind of do.
Yeah, but then Final Fantasy 9 went kind of more to the art direction of Final Fantasy 7, which I don't. And then 10 going forward obviously had their own thing going on.
Final Fantasy 8, I'm going to be the one to say it. It was a horrible game.
The Gunblade?
Oh my God. So we were promised these amazing graphics, and then we got something that looked worse than Final Fantasy VII. To this day, I have not finished that game. I have zero desire to complete that game.
I watched my friend play as a kid all the way through.
That game, I tried a couple different times. It lost me every single time. And I'm just like, this is the visual, the gameplay, the mechanics, the quest, the storyline, it just nothing. That had 0 out of 10.
Wait, they remade this game? Remastered it?
Yeah, and remasters should be taken very loosely because it still looks like somebody just threw up.
It looks like they just literally like smoothed out the polygons.
Game is garbage.
It's
saying,
horrible.
it's really good. It's so bad, and it's so bad because I know so many people that say that is their number one, the single greatest Final Fantasy game that was ever created.
That's because he has a fucking gun.
And I cannot get that at all.
I would honestly, Final Fantasy 13 was a better game than Final Fantasy 8, and Final Fantasy 13 had a lot of problems, and I still think that was a better game than fucking 8. But 8 is definitely not the best. I mean, obviously it's all subjective, or objective, whatever.
Subjective.
But yeah, but still, Final Fantasy 8, I'm sorry, is definitely not the best one.
When did Final Fantasy change its combat style?
What do you mean?
Like every game.
It's every game's a little bit different.
No, because what was the newest one? 15?
15. So
15 was the last one when you played as the yeah. So Final Fantasy 15, the combat style was more, like it wasn't
more like Kingdom Hearts. It's more fluid and you're mobile.
Yeah. When did they change to that?
So
they literally changed that from all the other ones to that one.
Huh.
None of the other games were like that.
So 12 had its own unique thing with like the gambit system, and like you could, when you approach something, it would target, and then you could select what you wanted to do. But once that battle started, it was either on autopilot and you could like switch between the characters. I think that was the first one that like really gave you a choice of what character you wanted to go to. It might have been, because 10 you had the paradigm, or not the paradigm changes, just the different outfits, and then 13 you have the paradigm changes, so it all kind of like shuffles up.
Yeah, weird. Fair enough. Matt, what do you got?
So let's keep it with the Final Fantasy. So it's good that we mentioned 10, because 10 was a huge, like, a turning point for me in gaming. I'd had a PS2. I remember seeing the trailers for this game. I was like, I have to have this game. And there is a scene fairly early on in that game. I mean, maybe not too fairly early on, but it's probably like still in the first act, or like it's like the bridging to the second act. The overarching enemy of this game is called Sin. It's this giant fucking like whale creature that just reappears every like 10 years because it can't be killed completely. So it's like people fight it dies, and then it comes back 10 years later, whatever. But there's this scene where they're trying to mount a defense against this thing. They know it's going to be coming to this one area, and they're like, we're gonna start this battle. They're mounting these like giant, like almost like laser guns on this hill in this very desolate area. They've got like mounted knights and soldiers on the giant chocobos, which are Cameron are like the giant birds. They look like the big chickens. And they're like, we're gonna mount this defense, and then you just see it coming out of the water, and it's like it's almost like it's like they're trying to fight Godzilla, and then it just starts shooting these fucking like enemies out, and then it starts summoning like other monsters, and it's like this like epic Lord of the Rings style battle in this CG. At the time, like it just was fucking mind blowing to me. And then after, of course, this big CGI battle happens, everybody just gets like wiped out. Like this thing drops like a nuke, and then you're there in the field like after this has happened, kind of like trying to find out what went wrong. And it's just that was really fucking cool to me. I mean, there's a lot of really cool CGI moments in that game, but that like epic battle with Sin, which really is not epic because he just wipes the fucking floor with everybody. It's really fun. Like literally, it drops like a like Dragon Ball Z level like nuke where it just sends out this like it like opens up its mouth and there's just this big ball. It looks like it's like making a black hole in its mouth, and then it just shoots it out, and then everybody's just fucking gone. It's crazy. Love that game.
Final Fantasy.
To this day. Yeah, I love Final Fantasy overall. So
something I have never really gotten invested in, unfortunately. Watched a lot of it, but whatever. So I'm gonna go then something that I am invested in. If you couldn't tell from my fucking room.
Oh.
More Batman over here. There's more Batman over there. Some Batman over there. Some Batman over there.
Spider-Man 2018.
Fuck that. Oh, there's some Batman down here too. Is the first scene in Batman Arkham Asylum. Just
okay, so you actually, believe it or not, that is one of the ones I know exactly what you're talking about. So yeah.
The car, Batmobile just fucking blaring through the street, freaking leaves shoot all over the place. Batman's in the freaking front seat. Joker's right next to him, laughing, talking shit. Bring him into the freaking Arkham Asylum. They have Joker strapped on, and just there's something about the whole entire moment, and I think it's literally just the fact of when that game was first announced, I was like, well, this is gonna suck. Mm-hmm. And then you see that first scene, you're just like, well, this is not gonna suck by any.
Yeah. And then that perp walk is classic. Yep. Just everybody's like, yeah, Batman, you did it. You got the guy. You did it.
And it was just fucking awesome. And then you grab a hold of him for the first time, and you're just like slowly walking. You can't move. You can't run. You have to just walk until you get to the first encounter with the fucking group of people, and you just fight them all in the fucking little pit area.
And you're missing one amazing part of that scene too. As you're walking through the hallway and you get to the elevator, and they're like, "Hold on, the elevator's not ready. We got an inmate coming up," and then it comes up and it's like dragging, and you see fucking Croc like hunched over inside there. Yep. Like I was like, oh my god,
he was huge.
He was massive.
So
he's like 12
big.
feet tall. Yep. He's like 12 feet tall.
That whole intro to that game was just fucking awesome.
Very atmospheric. Really, just totally sets the mood of like, wow.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah,
and it literally just made it took any doubt that you had about that game. I was like, this game is actually going to work, and here we fucking go. And again, we say it every episode, not every episode, but multiple times. The first one is the way to go, and it is fucking awesome in everything. And I'm not talking about Origins. I'm talking about Arkham Asylum. It's just fucking so good. Don't get me wrong, the other ones are great too, but being in that claustrophobic of like you're in Arkham Asylum, you can't go out anywhere. You know, you go to the courtyards or whatnot, but like you're on this island, and it's only yay big. You know, you're not in a city or anything like that. But that game and that scene is fucking dope. So.
Yo, low key shout out real quick, little 3.5 for me, I guess, would be late in that game when because you never see him technically. But the scene where you find the cell for Clayface was a fun moment for me that I'll always remember. You find Clayface's cell, but it's like, because I think he could be different people. It's like, oh, he's like Gordon, or he's one of the fucking GCPD cops. And he's like, oh, they locked me in here. Can you let me out? And Batman's like, I'm not so sure about this.
Or when
hold up a second. Because it says, on the fucking outside of the thing, it's like Basil Carlo. And you're like, is it though? Are you actually this person? And then you leave, and then like they're eventually gone. But like that was a fun moment too.
The Croc fight in the basement wasn't fun by any means.
No.
But it was cool to see him just like barreling through it. But it wasn't. Especially because like you got to go down the basement there in the cellar, and you're just like, oh fuck, I know exactly what this is. So, but I will say too, if I was to critique that game in the littlest bit, that end boss fight with the Joker is so, like,
No, it's terrible.
unnecessary. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But, Jason, you're up.
All right. So number 3 for me is the ending to the final scene in the first The Last of Us.
I did put this on my list.
After playing the Left Behind pack. So in the very last scene is Ellie talking to Joel and saying, her name was Riley and she was the first to die. In the Left Behind expansion pack for the game, you play as Ellie with Riley. So they were still, it was before all of the events. They were going, I think it took me maybe 6 hours to do, but I went through 6 or 7 hours, but I did it in a day. But I went through, I was exploring everywhere. And that ends obviously with Ellie and Riley both getting bit. Of course, Ellie survives because she's immune. Riley dies. And then if you go and play the main game again, that seemed really kind of like after I did that and having the experience of playing with Riley, that kind of really hit home for me. So that ending scene after you play the expansion pack.
Okay.
I actually was gonna put a scene from Last of Us. I was like, it's too typical, so I'm gonna. But I that works for me. Matt.
Okay. So there is one specific moment, but I'll just say 2018 God of War. There are a lot of moments that are extremely memorable and very emotional. But the one scene that really I can just picture very vividly in my head is very, very late in the game. You're in the Temple of Tyr and you're in the basement and you're coming through this whole section where there's all this loot and gold and shit and just pots and stuff. And you walk past one of the pots and Kratos is on the pot. And he sees a bit of his past. And then of course it starts a conversation between him and Atreus about, his life, and they find the amphora that's filled with Greek wine. And then you're riding the elevator back up and you have this very interesting father-son moment of giving the kid his first drink, and he's he doesn't like the taste of the wine. He says it smells and it tastes like seawater. And then Kratos is drinking it and it reminds him just of, home. But it's that moment is really cool because it's just just seeing that pot. It's they're looking at all the shit, and then he just sees the pot, and he's got the 2 blades of chaos about, and he's just laying waste to wherever he is when they painted that pot. But it's he's still constantly being confronted by his past. But that scene just really, really is something special. I mean, I don't have kids, but I think that's just a really great father-son moment that there's humor in it. They finally started really connecting at that point in the game. And I really like that shit. I mean, I love that game overall. There are so many memorable scenes, but that one was really fun for me. I really, really enjoyed that.
And I'm going to go to a lighter, or not a lighter, a darker moment. I'll say,
God.
If I said lighter, I'd probably get shot right now. Which this scene, I just don't understand how it got passed. I think it was the most fucked up thing I've ever seen and had to play in a game. And I know they give you the option before you start.
Oh, I know exactly what it is.
Dude.
I can call it right now.
Yeah, the fact that they give you the option, who the fuck was going to pick the option? No one was going to do it. Let's be honest. You were I'm going to fucking do it. But that airport scene in fucking Modern Warfare 2 was so fucked up. And then the guy that you fucking play as gets shot after you're done fucking doing everything.
Yeah, I recently read that.
What?
Keep going.
No, I was who the fuck? Now, I get it. 9/11 happened, ways prior, but it's not it wasn't obviously, it wasn't not obvious what they were trying to do, but how did that pass? That would never fucking pass right now. The fucking first scene in fucking Hard, what the fuck was the cop? Fucking
Hardline.
hardline, like when you play as a two cops, like going through like this like suburban neighborhood and you're trying to get a drug deal, like that. Based on what's going on in the world right now, that would never pass. So the fact that that scene even came to be in a video game blows my fucking mind. Again, I did it. I was like, fuck this. I want to see what this is about. Can't be that bad. And it's just fucked up is the best way to put it. You go through a fucking airport with a fucking machine gun and light up as many people as you possibly can, only to get to the end of it to get shot in the face by the guy you're with.
Well, but there's that. You say that though as if it's not a very important plot point, though.
But the fact that you could skip it, I didn't skip it, so I don't know what happens if you skip it.
Well, then if you, they probably just. Well, there's a cutscene that's immediately after that where Commander Shepard's like, "Oh, this was, that's like, the Russian government everybody hates America now because apparently an American terrorist was caught at this airport." So that's like they debrief you, but they're debriefing other characters in the story. But I mean, I remember playing that shit. It's fucked up. It's like that line in fucking Dark Knight Rises with Bane. No survivors. Like you literally, your purpose is strictly to kill everyone in that airport terminal. And it is there's nothing. I mean, some people find it fun, but it's not meant to be fun. It's meant to carry the plot of that story. But I think if you skip that, you're even just seeing like the fucking like newspaper that pops up on the screen of what happened. Like it doesn't give you the feeling of what happened. Like you need to play that to know, like to understand the fucking severity of what happened in that.
This isn't World War Z. It's not World War Z. This is these are humans that you're supposed to be, that you're taking down.
It's not like you're killing. It's not killing mountains and mountains of zombies. You're killing innocent people. Just like this dude's getting coffee, that person's getting a book at the duty free, and these are just people fucking waiting. And it's just there's people, there's women, there's children, there's old people. Like you're just killing every single fucking person you can imagine in that thing. That sets a very dark tone for that game. So yeah, agreed.
Jason?
Impactful.
Number 2 comes from Horizon Zero Dawn. It was after you beat the game, but before the end credits. So it's not the post-credit scene, but it's like the very final scene of the main game. So it's a CGI. Aloy is riding a strider just through the world, and overlaid is Elizabeth Sobek talking to the Gaia program. And it's asking her questions, and they're just having a conversation, and they start talking about a daughter. And Elizabeth says, if I had a daughter, I would want her to, be this, this, and this. And so the scene is changing as Aloy's riding, and eventually you come to like the ruins of a sign, and you can make out it once said Sobek Ranch. And if you listen to the stories, like going through, if you follow the story of the game, you know that Dr. Sobek had a ranch. So at that point, it's obvious that Aloy is going to her mother's home. So after the betrayal happened, or not the betrayal, after Elizabeth went outside to like seal the door to keep everybody else safe, like all those thousands of years before, she was in her environmental suit, so she just like went home. So the very last scene is Aloy finding a body. And so like these suits have like unlimited power. They draw power from anything. So she touches like the holographic nameplate, and it shows Dr. E. Sobek. And then she uses her focus to like look inside the helmet, and she's looking at her because she was the DNA, or it was Elizabeth's DNA that made Aloy. So Aloy is thousands of years later looking at her perfectly preserved dead mother. And I cried like a fucking baby when I saw that. I like full on wept. That was just an amazing scene for me. And that was hands down my favorite part of that game.
I've never cried in a video game.
Oh, dude, I cried.
Because Cameron, you're an emotionless sack of shit.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Your turn, bitch.
No, it's not my turn. It would be your turn.
No, it's your turn.
It's yours.
Okay.
No,
So-
Jason just went. You should have two more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess technically this would be my last one because one of them was.
Oh yeah. Okay. Then it was my turn. Hold on. This is my turn.
Yeah.
No.
See,
Oh, fuck
bitch.
you. Wow. So I'm gonna go with the end scene of, I guess not the end scene, the first end scene of Red Dead 1.
Okay.
When Morris just walks on out, and I'm like, and he just gets, I'm like, okay, Deadeye. I'm like, all right, how am I gonna pull this one off? I take away like maybe like 6 of the guys, and just get lit the fuck up. And I was like, did that really just happen? Because my friend was like, dude, because my friend beat it first. Anthony beat it first, the Italian, the stat man. I was like, dude, you're never gonna believe what happened at the end of it. And I was like, okay. And literally, you get lit up. I was like, how do you survive through this? And you don't survive. You're dead.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but like, yeah, I know.
You're fucking dead. And then you play as
Straight up
his, you play as the son. You know, time jumps probably maybe 20 years, and you just roll around, and all of a sudden you just find the guy that killed your dad just chilling, fishing, because you go to his wife's house, and she's like, the house, and she's like, oh, he's talking about the thing. You just have a standoff. That's it. It's over. Moved on. You spent this whole entire time with good old John just to get fucking lit up like a goddamn Christmas tree. So I didn't feel as sympathetic to you, Arthur. Sorry. That's my rant. And I'm done.
Okay.
So this is tough because there was a game that I was gonna, and something just cracked into my head that I think was a really interesting moment that still sticks with me. But it's a big spoiler, so I'm gonna just pulse everybody here. I'm gonna ping everybody here real quick and just see.
Can I guess what it is?
Sure, try. Go ahead.
Is it BioShock?
Well, no. So BioShock, of course, is on the list. That has its own thing because there's a lot of like really crazy moments in all 3 of those games. But have either of you? I mean, I know you haven't, Cameron, Jason. Have you played The Order 1886?
I want to play the game so bad.
Yes. I did not get very far into it, but I have played it. There was something, I don't know if I misread like a tutorial or how to like use something or how to perform an action, but I was in like a room with a werewolf or 3 werewolves or something, and I just kept on eating shit. I tried it like 7 or 8 times, and I'm just like, yeah, you know what? I'm not that invested into it. I'm just going to put it down, and I never went back to it.
Okay. I'll say overall it is a good game, and it's a very short game. It's only about like it's like maybe 5 or 6 hours long, but the graphics are incredible. They still hold up to this day. Cameron, what I'm going to say is kind of a big spoiler for the plot. So if you're going to end up playing the game, I could just say something for BioShock.
I don't give a fuck. Spoil it.
So The Order 1886, like Jason said, it's like, your characters are all like, they're literally the Knights of the Round Table. Like your characters have discovered, like 1,000 years ago, this black water that they can drink that heals them and prolongs their life. So it's like you play as Sir Galahad of the Arthur's Knights of the Round Table. I believe Arthur at this point is long dead. He was killed or whatever. But you persist in this, at the point in 1886, you persist in this world of protecting the world from these hidden threats of like lichens. So like you're fighting werewolves. Like that's what you do. It's like people don't know that they exist, and you prevent them from knowing. It's like they're like the 1886 version of like the Men in Black. Like you show up with your weapons, your crazy like advanced ass steampunk weapons. That's why you like it, because it's super steampunky and
it had the same feel as Dishonored.
Yeah, it's very cool, very steampunky, Victorian England. You go in, but it's like the whole idea is like there's just something that's not right in this game that's happening in these events. It like starts in Whitechapel. And of course, the werewolves are really cool because they're like very big, like they're traditional like lycanthrope type werewolves. But as you're advancing through the plot, there's just something that's not gelling. Like they're coordinated. There's more of these than there ever have been. Like what the fuck is going on here? And there's this part of the game where you link up with another, like a hunter. She's from India, and she's like, there's something's happening at the docks here, and we got to figure it out. And like, what is going on here? Something's not right. So you're infiltrating the docks, and it turns out that somebody is smuggling in vampires into the country. So they've only thought it was ever lichens. They had heard rumors about other things, but I guess they never knew it. And they're like the trading company is smuggling in vampires in like coffins, and then like you have a quick run in with them. But it's after this that your character finally deduces that there's somebody who's the owner of the trading company is involved in this somehow, and you eventually infiltrate his home. He's this aristocrat. He's involved with the order, and he like tries to help them, keep them under wraps and everything. And it ends up turning out that he is like the Grand Master vampire, and he's been like working behind the scenes the whole time. And when you come into the house, like you hear the scene that I'm picturing in my head, so it stands out so much is your character enters the room, and he's literally like hunched over at a part of it, and he's feeding on somebody, and he's like fucking 10 feet tall. He's feeding on this person, just drops the corpse like a rag doll, and then like shrinks back down into his human shape, and he like puts on his robe, and he's like, oh, like, oh shit, you figured it out, didn't you? It took you this fucking long to figure it out. But it's just like, he's so elegant. He's like, sucks for you though, because no one's ever gonna fucking believe you, and and at this point your character's gone like rogue, and he's like, I'm gonna make sure that you're killed and no one ever finds out about this. And it's just such a like, I remember seeing it going like, holy fuck, like the guy's a fucking vampire, this piece of shit, I'm gonna kill him, fuck this asshole, like this guy ruined everything. And then you find out too, like that the one of your knights is actually a werewolf, and he's been a werewolf his entire life. Like,
really?
Dude, there's so many mindfuck moments of that game, and I'm so devastated that they never made a sequel to it, because the ending of it is like your character standing on a rooftop like Batman, and it's like New Year's Eve, and like the fireworks are going off to 1887. And I think a sequel could be so much fun, but like it's a crazy what the fuck moment. Like I like send you like a video of it on YouTube, but it's so crazy that this like dude the whole time has been a vampire, and you just thought there were werewolves.
Yeah,
So,
the game always looked good. It came out kind of early. I think the only reason why I didn't probably get a sequel was probably because it didn't review very well. But
it reviewed well in certain aspects of it, but people didn't like paying $60 for a 5-hour game. That was the big part.
Which is the argument for it's the same argument for Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, exactly. Like that was the biggest problem. So, but I loved that game. I thought it was great.
Jason, you're up. Last one. What do you got?
All right. So my all-time favorite scene is in a game that I actually did not particularly care for. Matt, I'm sorry. Final Fantasy X.
No, dude, it's cool. I don't care. What scene though? I'm super curious.
All right. So it took me a while to play through Final Fantasy X. It got to a point where I just put the game down and walked away for like 8 months, and then came back to it, started again, and just went right through it. Still to this day, cannot play the second one. Have zero desire to.
Well, that's okay though, because that game's fucking terrible.
So there's one scene when, so you have like the main group, and then Matt mentioned Sin earlier. The secondary like baddie was a character called Seymour. And so there was one scene, he was definitely working behind the scenes. He was originally presented as a protagonist. It was very quickly identified that he was, one of the main antagonists.
Super not.
So there was one scene when there was a wedding, and he kind of like forced Yuna's hand, the main like summoning character. He kind of forced her hand into marrying him. So there's this big ceremony on top of this super grandiose, in typical Final Fantasy castle type thing, like in the clouds. Yeah. So this thing was like miles in the air. And so, the main group comes, and there's a standoff, and they go to rescue her. And at one point she gets on a ledge, and she's like, no, you let them go or I'm going to jump. And he's like, I forget the exact dialogue. He's like, okay, you have my word. They won't be harmed. And, you basically do whatever you want. So rather than like go through and like spend her time with him, she just like leans back and falls off the ledge. So everybody's mortified, like, oh my God, they run over to the ledge and they're looking down and you see her falling down. Like she's in 100% free fall.
Yeah.
So she's the only character that can summon. And then you hear like the summoning tone appear and you're like, who the fuck else is summoning? And then you get like the top down view of her falling away into the distance. The camera view switches to you falling with her. And you realize there's like a summoning ring around her and she's actively pulling for it to summon. So all the energies are like coalescing and everything. And she finally like puts her hands out to summon. She shoots the light forward and she calls the very first summon in the game that you get, which is this giant eagle type thing. She's in the middle of free fall. This thing swoops down, opens up its wings underneath her, and she like lands right on his chest. And like that scene ends with her kind of like looking up at Seymour, and then the camera scene goes to Seymour and he's just kind of like looking down and he's like, and he kind of walks away. My take on that is you don't see it, but after she lands on the summon and she's looking up to cause
She's
Seymour
flipping
to
in the
go,
double bird.
he's like,
She's just flipping him. She's like, fuck off.
that is one of those scenes that absolutely still holds up to today's standards as far as like the CGI goes. I watched it again a few days ago. Are there better quality CGIs out there now? Yes.
Sure.
Are there newer games with CGI in them that don't look nearly as good? Absolutely, yes. I think that was a very pivotal moment of that game, and Square took their time to put as much effort and energy and money into that scene as possible to get it to be the absolute best presentation it could be at the time, and that's why it held up.
Yeah, I mean, even the build up to that scene when the rescue team shows up to go get her, and they're all like grinding on those crazy like rails to like go to the ceremony. Like it just is so cool. It's so frantic. There's like people shooting guns. There's like mortars going off, and they just jump in and get into the fight. Dude, that whole segment of the game, yes, is fucking incredible. 100%. Couldn't agree more.
The scene is called Believe. So if you actually go, if you do like YouTube, like Final Fantasy X Believe, that'll absolutely pop up. Definitely worth a watch.
I'll check it out because I've never, like I said, I've never really invested in Final Fantasy, so I will take a peek at it. Believe. All right. Well, I guess my last one then is none other than the story of my 7-year-old self walking into fucking, I don't know if it was eBay at the time or GameStop, whatever the fuck it was, and just seeing the PlayStation, the hardware sitting there, and I grabbed the controller and I'm playing this game. I don't know what it is, and I'm walking down a creepy ass hallway, and I get to the end of the hallway, and it goes into a quick cut scene of this guy eating another human being, turning his face, and it's the first time you see a zombie in Resident Evil 1. Yeah. And I dropped that controller and ran out the fucking store. And I have not played that game since that moment, if you want my honest opinion.
Oh, man. Really?
And, yep. I have not played it since. And I'll never forget the creepy ass. It just turns its head real slow and creepy.
Yeah, it's like,
yep. And I was like, nope. Dropped it, ran out the door. My mom was probably like, what were you doing? I was like, nothing. I'm never looking at. First of all, before we wrap up, I just have a question. Who the fuck thought that was a good idea to put that as a fucking demo disc in a fucking GameStop?
You're trying to sell somebody on a game, dude. That's gonna do it. I mean, it clearly sold you against playing it because it scared the poop out of you.
Exactly. But still, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, you have like kids coming in there all the time and playing demos back when you actually should go in and play the damn thing. But fuck you, GameStop. You've officially scarred me for the rest of my life. In Resident Evil 1, unless you
Cameron, real quick, what's scarier, the zombie or the Loch Ness Monster in Jolly Roger Bay?
Loch Ness Monster in Jolly Roger Bay is scarier than the fucking zombie in Resident Evil 1.
Oh, man.
It's probably scary. The Loch Ness Monster is even probably scarier than the first time that the dogs bust through the windows in
That scared the shit out of me.
Well, I think it scared the shit out of everybody. Or the first time you see the licker crawl across the window in Resident Evil 2. But that's it. That's all we got today. The fucking Jolly Green Giant fucking Loch Ness Monster in Mario 64 is the scariest moment in video gaming history. There you go. Once again, this is Why Am I Nerd since Alpha Beta Gold Games. You can follow us on Instagram at Why Am I Nerd Official, Facebook.com/Why Am I Nerd. Listen to new episodes every Monday on YouTube and your favorite podcast service. Once again, I'm Cameron James. With me as always, Jason Porter and Just Matt. Until next time, we're out.
Take care.